Hello and welcome to Fuego Founders. I'm Joe Ochoa Jr., El Gran Empresario, and
Yesenia, just the CEO. Welcome to our show. We are celebrating today because it's our 10th episode.
10th episode. Can you believe that?
Yes, congratulations. It's been a pleasure working with you.
It sure has. It sure has. You know, most importantly is because of the information that we bring to all our listeners, right? At the end of the day, we do this. We could be doing something else. But when we got together, we said, look, there's so many people that just don't know these things. And not only the knowledge that we bring, but the people that we bring on our show, right?
Exactly. We're so excited because all the guests that we've had, they've done a wonderful job and they've also shared so many great information, but also the ones that are coming. Can you share a little bit about who or what industry will be here in our next episode?
Yeah, we're super excited. We're bringing someone on. You know, one of the things that we've noticed is that especially in our culture or in our world, is a lot of time is that there's not enough education when it comes to financial literacy, right? So the next guest that we have on is he served our country, number one. Right? That was amazing for serving our country. But more importantly, he's worked for big organizations, right? Big industry. But one of the things that just kind of kept tugging at his heart is when he's looking at his family around him. And the one thing everybody was always worried about, the next carne asada, right? The next barbecue. But the one thing that they were never talking about is financial literacy.
Right.
And the one thing that made an impact, he said that when he was serving our country, that he had a sergeant, right, was telling him, hey, you need to invest. You need to invest. And I don't want to give all the secrets of what he kind of shared with him, but at a very young age, he started investing. And it's interesting because now he gets to do the things that he wants. Like, I'll see him and he's on the other side of the world for a month. You know, he takes off for a month and he's traveling over here a month. Because what happens is he took that instant gratification away at that moment when he was younger of buying things and doing things and just invested and invested. And now it put him in a financial position to travel the world and do the things that he really wants to do. So
that's amazing. And it's also being coachable, allowing other people to coach you and seeing the bigger picture, because sometimes, like as they say, you can take the horse to the water, but you can't make the horse drink the water, right?
That's exactly.
So I think that is very important for people to understand that, you know, you have to keep growing, you have to keep learning and being coachable. Because I've let myself be coachable, because I know if somebody else, like a mentor, has done it, I know they're going to tell me, okay, don't go this way, go this way, right?
Correct. No doubt. But the one thing, too, is that not only did he learn it, now he's teaching other people, right? And he's going to bring those insights. And that's what Fuego Founder does here. We bring those business insights, right? It takes a lot of grit. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of getting up, right? One of the things that I heard at a young age is if you get knocked down 9 times, get up 10. Right? Be persistent, and that perseverance, you'll go, it's not easy.
And changing the chip. Yeah. Because a lot of people, they're like, well, you know, yesterday I had a flat tire. That's not going to stop me for whatever I'm going to do next. You know, we have the tools. Okay, I get an Uber to my office. I have appointments, you know, but I can't be, oh, I have a flat tire, my life sucks. No, you can't speak that language to yourself, right? Because then you attract that. So you have to change
the law of
chip.
attraction. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. You know, it's interesting to hear people like that too. And then you're around some people that have high energy. You're around some people that have low energy. And it's just crazy when you're around that environment of that negativity and toxicity and all that. And you're like, ugh, you know, because you know what's good and what's bad.
Right. You have to set boundaries.
You do. You have to protect and guard yourself, who you are, your mind, those type of things. So that's why, isn't there that saying that, you know, if one rotten apple just kind of rots out all the other apples in the actual basket.
Exactly.
So make sure when you see that, pull them out. So.
Yes, no, absolutely. And the business and friendship and life level, everything, even at church, sometimes, I'm not going to lie, there's people that you go to church with and they're still a little negative in there. So
well, I think after COVID, Yesenia, I think one of the things is that a lot of things changed in people's minds. And I just feel that there are some people that were positive because of that, the negativity. And at the end of the day, it's about mind control, right? We got to be careful what we're listening to. We got to be careful of the environment that we put ourselves. If there are people not lifting you up, you probably shouldn't be in that environment, right? As hard as it is, I went to college with that person, or I've been married to that person for 20 years, or whatever that may be. You need to get out of that environment, So it's tough. I do want to talk about something today. I'm wearing my Master shirt, right? I love golf. I enjoy golf. I wish I could play more golf. But do you watch any golf at all?
Honestly, I don't, but I did get invited to a golf tournament, so I'm hoping that I'm going to learn a little bit more, and that way I used to work with an orthopedic surgeon that he was a big fan of golf, and that's how I kind of know a little bit about it. But yeah, tell me what's going on with the golf world.
First of all, you can only buy Masters shirts there at the Masters, right?
Okay.
And so I was fortunate enough to go in 2017. That was something that was on my bucket list. Always wanted to go. It's just an amazing, amazing event. They bring in like $1 million an hour in merchandise is what they're selling every hour. Now, that's kind of crazy because you can only buy the merchandise there. There could be some second-hand websites and that it's not legit, but everything goes through there. But I can really tell you that experience, like walking in. I was just having this conversation with a friend. I remember walking in and smelling that fresh dill, right? And then watching, all the players, doing their practice shots, and then to be able to follow them. And that created an experience that I probably wouldn't have had unless I had certain relationships. And I was fortunate enough, a friend of mine, unfortunately, I lost him last year. He died. He died, and it was tough, right? But because of him, I got to go to the Masters, right?
Wow.
I got to go to the Masters and to create that experience. But literally, he says, hey, you ready to go to the Masters? And I'm like, yeah. And, we went. It was 4 of us and had an amazing time. But the reason I'm celebrating is, congrats to Scotty Scheffler for winning his second Masters. It's the time and dedication that it takes to get to the pinnacle of whatever you're doing, whether it's business, whether it's golf, basketball, and so forth. But, I don't traditionally wear green. I only have maybe 2 or 3 green shirts in my whole entire closet.
I know. I walked in. I was like, we're wearing spring colors. So I was like, let's do it.
Yeah. But it takes a lot, right? It takes a lot of dedication. And that's really what I want to talk about, the Masters. Although the game is a great game, but people don't realize, Tiger Woods, after one of his rounds, he's hitting hundreds, if not thousands of balls consistently after that. Like, he just finished a round of golf.
Exactly.
And if you know anything about golf, it takes a while. Like, it's not easy, and it takes a lot of time and dedication. So if you are in business, you got to understand it's not going to happen overnight. It takes time and dedication. It takes grit, perseverance to get to where you want to go.
Right. So. Same thing. Being coachable, having a mentor, right?
Yep.
All those people, you have to have a support system as well in your surroundings.
No doubt. And right now, there's people that are listening to us that they've considered starting their business and don't know how to do that. They've trying to get to the next level. They're trying to scale. They're tired. They get home. There's things that are going on in the home place and they don't know what to do. We're hoping that we can bring you that insight to kind of get you through and say, hey, you know what? I'm not the only one going through this, right? Because a lot of times we see certain things and we think, oh, look at their life is so perfect. And
or, you have the people that they are going through stuff and they think that it's only them. And once you start hearing other people going through the same stories, problems here and there, but you're still hustling, you're like, okay, well, I'm not the only one. They feel better. They feel that they have a support group and who they can talk to, right? Because even with Elvia, she's an amazing entrepreneur, director of a school, right? And we had her as a guest, and we've had like situations that I've had to call her, she had to call me, because we're just like, I don't know what to do. And then we talk about it, and it's very important to have a person that you can, you're having a problem, you can call.
You can lean on somebody, right? That's the community that we talk about. When you build a community that people you can lean on. And I think a lot of times what happens is, I want to use the word prideful. I think people get prideful, like they don't want to ask for help. They're like, oh, I should know this. And guess what? You don't know everything. You don't know everything. That's the one thing I learned to lean on specialists. I get people that call me all the time. They're like, hey, this, and I was like, I don't know, but I know somebody that does, right? I have a big network and push that way. So what else is going on in your world?
So we just finished tax season. So I want to congratulate the team, even though we're still booked. It's amazing because people are still doing their taxes. We didn't meet the deadline, right? For some people, they're like, I don't care. I'm going to do my taxes. So I'm very, very grateful for all the clients that have come through, the referrals, everybody, the support. Honestly, we hit record this year.
That's great. Congratulations.
So I even want to cry about it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. But that's all your hard work, right? Yes. I see what you are doing. Your entire team, they're out there, they're grinding it out. I mean, it takes a lot to be able to do that. And I can't even imagine, right? Because in what you do, it's like meeting those deadlines, right?
Exactly. I mean, and the pressure. So you were talking about stress earlier. Yeah. I have the stress of everybody's business because we're trying to meet their deadlines if we have already on us, right? The ball is in us. So I was talking to my brother yesterday. He's Marcos. He's my little brother. I'm like, what do you think about like business? You know, because obviously he just we give him a checklist, what he needs to do and everything. He's like, that is hard. That is hard for the business owner. And I'm like, well, I'm glad that you see that, right? That you see what it takes to have a business afloat, right? And that's why it is important for your team to have the same vision. Because that way, you know, team is not, there's no I in team, right? Yeah. It's everybody, and we need to make sure that everybody's in the same page.
Absolutely in sync. You know, it's interesting to see some businesses that have high turnover, right? I was working with a business and they say, I just keep losing, you know, people. And I'm like, huh. And then when you start kind of digging into it, number one is they have no mission. Number two, they don't have vision. They don't have core values. And it's like, how does your team know where they're going? Right. And that's what happens. Sometimes people that get in the roofing business, I know when my father, I don't think he ever intended to get, you know, to have his own company. You know, when he started, he was 15 years old.
Right.
He learned a trade. And then he looked at it and said, hey, I can make a living at this. And then all of a sudden say, hey, I'm going to start my own business. So he starts his own business. But I don't think he really realized, you know, what was involved. And my father is more of a silent leader, right? He's a silent leader. He had a big following of people that just wanted to work with him because he just treated them right.
Right.
He took care of them. He paid them right. He treated them right. Every person that works with this team, they knew that they mattered. And I think that's the biggest thing is when you hire people, they want to feel that they matter. They're not just
that you're genuine with them as well, because there is a lot of people, especially in the construction industry, that take advantage of, you know, our people. So definitely, I do see where there's problems with that because they don't get paid, you know, or they mistreat them. But your dad created that system where, okay, he's genuine. He's going to help us grow, right?
And that's why he's one of us, right?
Yes.
His team started saying, hey, he's one of us. He started from nothing. He started building something. And I'm very appreciative of what he showed us, right? Now, I didn't like it at the time. All my friends are traveling. They're playing around, whatever, and I'm here picking up trash and doing that. But he made us go through every step of the business. And it put me in the position that I became the president of our industry. It put me in a position to now coach and mentor other people, right? So
that's amazing.
It's interesting how our experiences create what our future has, you know, in store for us, right? Like I never thought I would be coaching and mentoring, but it's because all those experiences.
Yes, no, absolutely. And we're also, you know, always grateful for our parents because they put us through that. I feel like I get my hustle from my mama because she's always either done Mary Kay, home interiors. I don't know if you remember about that. And I was like little me, like just following her through all these meetings, coaching and inspirational. And I'm just like sitting there and I felt like now I have a bigger responsibility that I have to prove to my mom that, you know, we got this. Because I felt like she wanted to do more, but because of like, I'm first generation, she's Salvadorian. So now she's like pushing me. So now my expectations for my kids are even bigger because we have to keep going, you know?
You know, it's interesting that you say that. You know, sometimes you know, what I'm about to share is these are my silent thoughts, right? Sometimes I think it's like, why do I truly do what I do? Why do I do what I do? And it's like, first it was like, well, I love to serve people, right? And then you go after that and you're like, okay, that's cool. You like to serve people, but what really is it? And when I started kind of unpeeling the onion, what I realized is that I just wanted to make my dad proud. I wanted to make my mom proud.
At the end of the day,
right? That's
yeah,
really
exactly.
what it is, right? And then it's just like, okay, why? Why do I want to make them proud? Right. And it's just like you start unpeeling this onion, you start learning about yourself. Right. Because it was all these layers. It was first, I want to serve. Right. No, then I need to provide for my kids and my family. And it's like I just kept going down the list. I was having a therapy session with my own self, basically. And so what it came down to is like I wanted to take all the information and knowledge that my parents gave me and say, hey, you know what? I've done something. Right. I've done something. I became a product of society. I'm serving others. We're helping others. But I want you to be proud.
Of course. And then I feel like the biggest responsibility, because as immigrants, our parents came to this country, how to work hard, have 3 jobs. Even for me, like whenever I was little, my mom would send me during the summer with my grandma to El Salvador, June, July, and then I would come back in August to start school. So because she couldn't take care of me, and she's like, okay, I'd rather you be in El Salvador with my mom than having somebody else take care of you, right? But now I feel like, okay, it is my responsibility to be in the next level. And then I tell my kids, I talk to them. I'm like, talk to my mom, talk to my grandma, like ask them about how was their life in the past, right? Because I feel like this generation too, everybody's on their phone. We have family reunions, everybody's on their phone. I'm like, no, my kids, I always have them like, okay, go talk to her, ask her questions. How was it whenever she was little in El Salvador? What wars were going on, right? Yeah. And then my middle child, Sebastian, he was like, Mom, do you know that we call her Ita, which is my grandma, she was born 3 years after World War II. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. So I was like, okay, I'm doing a good job,
No,
like,
you're absolutely.
Yeah.
It's interesting you say that because I had come up with a concept in college about a restaurant, and you had different rooms. And one of the rooms it's basically where the older generation, younger generation can come together. They could play chess, or they could eat, and then they can play chess, checkers, et cetera, and so on. But what's to pass some of those things that happen, right? And we create the same thing in our family, and have my kids talk to, grandma and grandpa and great grandma and so forth. And, how was it? How was it? How was it a long time ago? They asked me that question. I was like, hold on, it wasn't that long ago, but because those are the stories, right? Like if our ethnicity, we communicate through stories,
right?
And those are the stories that are passed on generation. Did you know that my grandmother did this or grandfather did this? But you talking about your mom reminded me of something that I saw a couple weekends ago, and it was talking about the hustle. Right? Like I could just envision your mom hustling, like doing her Mary Kay, this, that, or what have you. But I literally saw a couple walking around in this little like deal selling fresh fruit and all. I was at a tournament, right? Mm-hmm. And then it took me to, in business goes up, business goes down. And although my dad's business was in this success, it was going into success, in the 80s, it got really tough, right? And they call it the Reaganomics years. And I'll never forget, my dad had to leave to Lubbock, Texas, because there was a storm. He had to help somebody up there. And my mom was making tacos and selling tacos at softball games to the teachers. There she was driving a nice Lincoln Town car, and she's selling tacos. And one thing that taught me right there, that my mom wasn't too proud, right? She had gone through the ups, right? Nice house, nice car. Mm-hmm. But all of a sudden, the business dropped, right? And man, I'm getting almost emotional just thinking about that, because I remember going, my mom didn't really speak a lot of English.
Yes.
So I had, a little business guy, pull up to the,
translating.
Translating. Hey, how many tacos do you want? Or my backpack being filled up with tacos in the morning to take to the teachers. And then I was a mule, right? I was a taco mule. They come back with the money at the end of the day. But you know what that taught me? No matter what, my
there's
parents,
a solution,
there's
and
a solution,
you gotta keep going.
And you gotta keep hustling.
Yes.
You know, and so it reminds me of your mom. I'm sure she was probably going through something, and she's like, "Hey, I'm gonna figure it out.
Exactly.
And we're gonna do it. No nos vamos a dar por vencer,
Yes,
right? Like,
no, and if you ask her, like, it's funny to me because she tells everybody else, she's like, you know, who has inspired me has been Yesenia, because now she has 2 businesses. She has a residential cleaning business and also a financial. She sells life insurance. She already hit 100K, so I'm so proud of her.
That's
you know,
awesome.
But it's funny because she's like, well, you inspire me. I'm like, no, you inspire me. You know,
that's good. That same little
Yes,
energy goes
exactly.
back and forth. So if you're just now tuning in to Fuego Founders, my name is Joe Ochoa Jr., El Gran Empresario, and
Yesenia, just the CEO.
yeah, we're super excited. We're talking about trials and tribulations that we've seen within our family, and that's what happens when you have a business. But the hustle, the grit, the grind, and what it takes to be an entrepreneur. Sometimes it's a fast road, sometimes it's a long road, but at the end of the day, everybody's journey is different. And if you get knocked down 9 times, get up the 10th time, right?
That's right. That's right. Well, now that we're switching gears, like I said, it's the end of tax season. I do want to share a little bit about what's going on. A lot of business owners are getting the rendition letters from the Harris County. So a lot of people are like, what is this, right? And every show I try to share something like either reports that are due or deadlines. So right now, those are very important. Don't throw those away either. Anything from Texas, don't throw them away, or contact us if you have any questions or concerns, or your CPA or accountant. But those are pretty much reports that you have to do for the reporting of values in your property. Okay, so you have to put them in the market value. Okay, so it's important for you to, it's different steps there, and every business is different. So I do want to tell you, like, if you have questions about it, please contact us. I don't know if you had to deal with that, or you have your accountant.
Yeah, we have our accounting.
Yes, so those are important. And then the next deadline will be May, which we'll touch base on that. But don't ignore those business and personal letters from the Harris County, which is the renditions report.
That's a great nugget. And obviously, how can, and they're, company's one of the sponsors. Why don't you
Yes,
go
and
ahead?
I do want to give a shout out to SAS Tax and Business Solutions for being one of our sponsors. Like we've said before, if you're interested in sponsoring our show, let us know, and you'll have a space for the sponsorship and for us to talk about your business.
Yeah, and you connect with other people in our community, other listeners, et cetera, and so forth. At the end of the day, we do this show is because we want to give back. We want to give back the knowledge that we gained through our years. Like, there's some times that I listen to her talk, and I was like, thank God I know somebody that knows about that, because I don't know that, right? My job is not to know everything. My job is to connect with talented people like yourself, and then be able to say, hey, can you help this person? They're looking for this. Can you help that?
No, and the thing is that a lot of these things with the reports, they're overwhelming. They're not the best at structuring the instructions of, okay, this is what you need to do, A, B, C. So that's why we have people like us that can help you.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw this the other day, and I don't really watch a lot of TV, and I try to stay out of that because I'm just stay focused on what I'm doing. But one thing that caught my attention, and maybe you can bring some insight, maybe not, but there was a long line at the IRS office.
Oh, yes.
And they were trying to get help, right?
They were trying to get help, but then they started fighting. So that is just, the IRS is going to shut down. And if you think about it, it makes it worse for the taxpayers, because within us, right? Because why start fighting? Just be patient. Obviously, IRS does have hired more people to help, but it's just, it happened here in Houston and Georgia.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So unfortunately,
I just caught a little glimpse, and I'm like, what is going on?
Yes. We just, and another thing I do want to touch base is that it's very important that you know who you're getting your taxes done with, and don't go with the highest refund, because that's where you're going to have problems. You're going to end up at the IRS office needing help because your taxes were messed up, pretty much.
Yeah, no. It's super important to always have a professional like
Correct.
yourself to do that. I couldn't imagine, right? Like, I could not imagine being in that position. I've heard of horror stories, and I never want to be there.
Yes,
So,
and we have to be kind. I know that a lot of people do depend on the tax refunds, but like I said, if you have everything in order since the beginning, you shouldn't have a problem.
Yeah.
And whenever clients come and they're like, "Well, I don't want an audit," well, the thing is that audits are not bad. Like if they audit you, if you have everything in order, then you shouldn't have a problem. When there's discrepancies, that's where it comes.
And I think you know, when you have those audits, like you said, they're not bad. You know, there's audits in companies all the time.
All the time.
All that is
Internal.
for checks and balances. That's all it is, right? That things are happening the right way, right?
Yes.
And so people are just like, well, I don't want to be audited or whatever. And sometimes you just kind of wonder, well, then what are you doing that, you know?
Yes.
So.
No, absolutely. And another thing is having your accounting in place, because that is the crucial part of your business, accounting.
Yeah.
If we don't have accounting, or I have people that come and they're like, well, I don't want to pay taxes. I hired you for this. I'm like, okay, well, give me your expenses. Like, I'm not going to be doing expenses for you.
Yeah.
That's a huge red flag. If your tax professional is doing your expenses, that's a high, red flag right there.
Run.
Run.
Yeah. So what do you see for the next quarter for y'all? I know y'all have a lot of stuff going on, but what do you see 2024 for SAS? I know you mentioned something last time. You gave us a little nugget that you're going to be doing some sort of a test or certification or something.
So the next step for me as a personal and in a business is getting my enroll agent's license. It's a 3-part test with IRS. That way I'll be able to represent clients. And there's EAs, which is enroll agent, and then CPAs, right? The certified public accountant. So yes, pray for me. Yeah. I'm going to be really focused, and that's where it comes in place that as the industry, you have to keep learning, right? What is the next level? Stay in line, right? Because there's going to be a lot of shiny objects here and there, and you're going to be like, okay, I'm doing this. You're going to look at that shiny object, but you have to understand that not everything that shines is the correct option.
You know, to that, I was listening to something this morning, and this gentleman was talking about how they ran in a marathon, and typically after a marathon, you have companies that sponsor, and they have like bagels or beer or whatever, this and that, and one of the guys goes, "Hey, let's go and get a bagel," and he goes, "No, look at the line." He's like, come on, let's get a bagel, and the guy was like, "No." And so the guy that wanted the bagel, right, we'll call him Sam. Sam goes in and he grabs, the bagel. There was a huge line, and he just kind of goes in there and cuts in. And he brought another bagel for his buddy. And as they were eating the bagel, the guy goes like, "Why did you have to have that bagel or whatever? Because it was free, right?" He goes, "Yeah, but we had said after the marathon we're gonna go here, we're gonna do that, and we stopped here and we waited for 20 minutes." And so that goes to the shiny object. Sometimes what happens in life, we get away from what we're supposed to be doing, basically.
Right, in your goals.
In your goals, right? You say, "Hey, I'm going to do this and that." And that's something small, but think about how many times every day something veers you off. You have your schedule, and somebody calls you about this, and this, and then all of a sudden you veer off. And what happens is we never make our destination.
Exactly.
Right.
And that was happening to me 2 years ago.
Me too.
Yes.
Right.
It was literally, I would have my schedule, and then I would have a friend, or there's a networking event. Let's go eat. Let's have a happy hour. And then I was like, okay. And I was not completing my task.
Yep.
And then it backfired me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, nope, I got to stay focus and my schedule. Are you on my schedule? Nope. Okay, I can't go.
No, absolutely. And you don't want to get in the habit of, I know I've seen people get in the habit of where they would cancel something they already have that's important to go have fun, right? Because they're trying to have this balance of like, oh, I work all the time, and then you start telling yourself stories. You start telling these stories like, oh, I deserve this. I need to go do this. I need, shopping therapy, or I need, mimosa therapy, whatever that therapy that you need, because we work so much. But where is your goal at the end of the day?
Right.
And not only does that have to happen as a business, that has to happen as a couple, right? As a family.
Right.
What's interesting to find out is that not a lot of families really talk about their finances. and what their finance goals are, right? They're just, as Zig Ziglar used to say, a wondering generality. They're just like, yeah, we'll go buy this, we'll go buy that. Or, but then now all of a sudden you don't have any money to go on vacation. Why?
Right.
Because you didn't do your due diligence.
No, and another thing is that a lot of business owners think that only you need a profit and loss, a P&L for your business. But technically, you also need a P&L for your personal life.
Yep.
All those subscriptions, all that eating out, the happy hours, where's your money going? Like, it's very important for you to have a budget and a P&L for your personal side. So if you need help, let me know.
Yeah, I remember the first time that we had a meeting, my wife and I, because I've always been the spender and she's really not the spender, which I guess that's a good thing.
Yes.
Maybe not. But we balance each other out. But I remember the first time, and then we're going through it or whatever, it was just like, oh man, I spent that much on that, or because you don't think about it, because you're like, it's only $50 or it's only $100. Well, at the end of the month, it might be $3,000 and going out to eat.
Yes.
And then when you really start looking at take $3,000 a month times a year, times 5 years, and then you compound interest, like if you would have that in the market or something like that, and you say, that could have been X amount of dollars.
Right. No, and another thing is that you have kids now, you have to pay for that. Or what my mistake in the past was that, I'm going to spend this, $1,000 because I'm going to make some like tomorrow or I was already making plans with money that I didn't have yet.
You didn't have. People do that all the time.
And I don't know if it's a Hispanic thing or just, I was doing
it's everybody's problem. It's not just a Hispanic.
Yeah. So I maybe one in the relationship does that. I don't know.
What about you?
I'm the spender.
I'm the spender.
Yeah. So I'm the spender. And that's why I got in trouble, because I'm like, I was already making plans with money that I didn't have.
Not yet.
It's like, no hagas planes con dinero que no tienes todavía.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yes.
Because once again, I think it goes into the mentality of like, I work for it. Like, I deserve it. Like, I'm telling you,
I was always like, it's going to come. Money's going to come.
It does.
Everything's going to be fine.
But interesting enough, doesn't money come? It does come. It does flow, right? Somehow it does. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it's coming, but
you're like already like edge.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why for myself, I had to put myself in a position where I just didn't want to live in that stress, right? Like you get to a point where you're like, I don't want to live in that stress. I heard somebody said, if you can't go buy, like, let's say this watch, if you can't go buy 10 of those watches, just don't buy that one, right? And I was like, I didn't get that, right? If you can't afford to go buy 10 of those, just don't. And then at the end of the day, is it instant gratification? What is it that is fulfilling, right? So when I bought this watch, it was a special anniversary gift, et cetera, and so forth. But I was like, you know what? This watch is something that I can give part of my legacy when I'm gone,
That's
right?
what I was going to say, because it either has to also add value and then something that you can pass on.
Yeah.
Let's pass on the watches.
Because at the end of the day, we all have time, but it's how we utilize our time to get us where we want to go.
Y hay más tiempo que vida.
Así mero.
So thank you so much. Again, we also want to thank one of our other sponsors.
Joe Ochoa Roots and Even More, serving the community for over 53 years. Super excited to have them as one of the sponsors. Hopefully 54, 55, all the way up to 100 plus,
And America's Empresarios,
and America's Empresarios, we do coaching, serving, coaching, mentoring. If you need coaching for your business, you're stuck in that place, you need a roadmap. That's really where our team is really good at, is writing a blueprint roadmap for your business, right? A lot of times people just don't know what to do and how to do things. And then when we start with the end in mind, where do you want to be at the end of the day? And then we reverse engineer it. We write you a roadmap to get you to where you want to go.
Awesome.
So thank you, America's Empresarios.
Thank you. And again, if you want to be a sponsor, please let us know. This is a space for you that you can promote your business as well. And talking about teams, right? I want to ask you, how do you handle your team meetings? Because a lot of clients that have businesses and they have teams, I don't think most of them know or have started having team meetings. So I think that is very, very important. So tell me, how do you handle those?
So, what's interesting, when we first started having team meetings, it always seemed to be, this is many years ago. It always seemed to be that when we'd have meetings, we'd talk about the things that we didn't do, we didn't achieve.
Right.
Right.
And that's another thing that.
No bueno. I can tell
Exactly.
you that those are not effective, because what happens? The employee goes, "Oh, here we go again. He's gonna be upset about, why did we break this? Why didn't we finish this on time, et cetera, and so forth." So we took that out, right? Mm-hmm. And so we started working on things differently. We have chats in our organization, and so we let our teams dictate what they want to talk about in the meeting. So things that come up, right?
What's in the agenda?
Basis.
So one is always having an agenda.
Correct.
Writing it down.
Yep.
Okay.
And then who's going to lead that? So instead of the owners, managers, etc., we let somebody on our team lead that. So we're not the ones up there, whatever. Because sometimes you don't understand it. They think it's real easy to follow the agenda, to go over everything, to make sure you're on time and all that. So we let our team actually lead those meetings. How about y'all? How do y'all handle that?
So honestly, we have one once a week team meeting, but obviously during tax season it's a little crazy. But we definitely we start with celebrations. Yep. We celebrate what we achieve, the numbers, we killed it, right? And then we talk about what's any fires that we need to put off, right? And then third is any concerns that we have as a company, like, okay, we could improve in this, because like you said, we don't want to start with the negativity. Let's start about, okay, what happened, what celebrations do we have, and then we can talk about what's going on, if there's any problems, and what solutions we have for those problems. Because we're not going to be like, oh, there's a problem with this, but then we talk about it, how we can have a solution in place as a team, right? So everybody's on the same page as well.
Right now, when you say that, one of the words we try not to use is problem.
Right.
We call it a situation in our organization.
That's a good one.
What is the current situation that's going on, right? Not that that's a bad thing to use the word problem. It's just something that I came up with 20 years ago. I was like, I'm tired of hearing about problems. I want to hear what the situation is, and I want to hear what the solution is.
Correct.
That's how you grow leadership, right? It's not, somebody on my team goes, oh, everybody always comes to me for everything. I said, yeah, are you leading your team? And they were like, what do you mean? I said, if they're used to coming to you like a little rat to cheese, they know that the cheese is going to be there. They're coming to you because you have the solution. So how do you reverse that? Right? Jasenia comes to me and says, hey, this is going on. I say, hey, Jasenia, how would you handle that situation?
Right.
Well, I haven't thought about it. Why don't you bring me 3 solutions and we can talk about it tomorrow?
Yes.
That's empowering your team. Not instead of, hey, Jasenia, have them call this person, do that, whatever, and it's done. And that's why you have to do everything. And so when I work with organizations, one of the biggest things that we always see is just like, oh, I do everything. It's like, yeah, because that's what you built. You built a team, you built a business that they need you. That means you can't go on vacation. You can't even go out to eat. You can't be with your family because everybody needs you. Right.
So no, absolutely. And one of the hard parts too, as a leader and CEO, is that yes, you establish also the rules, but then you have to also follow them. Because I'm going to be honest, we establish, okay, this is the X amount we're going to be charging for this report, and then the client comes in and they talk to me and they're like, well, can I have a discount? And I'm like, okay. And then the team is like, what? We're supposed to be like, so I'm even being hard on myself on that too. Like, I'm just, okay, I need to stick to it. If I said this, I have to stick to it because my team is also expecting me to do it.
Absolutely. I had one of my competitors message me this morning, and he was like, how would you handle this situation, right? And so basically what had happened, they gave him an order, and then they delivered the materials, and then they canceled, right? And so I was kind of reading her some of the law. I said, look, read this law. In the state of Texas, homeowner has X amount of hours, to basically cancel the order, et cetera. So I said, look, and at the end of the day, they're not one of your customers. We always say that if somebody's willing to do that or commit fraud, they're not a Joe Ochoa customer.
Correct.
I lost a $100,000 deal last week because I wasn't willing to pay somebody's deductible. And that goes back to your point. You have to stand for what you are, what your mission, your core value, your vision, because the minute that you start moving, then they're like, oh, well, what gives her the right? What gives him the right? you know, to be able to do whatever they want. You know?
Exactly. No, and that shows a lot for your business and your company that you are legit. Like, we don't commit fraud. Yes.
Correct. Yeah, no, I mean, it was really disheartening, right? Because, you know, help the customer get the money from the insurance or whatever. And they're like, hey, I need you to, you know, everybody else is doing it. I was like, well, we're not everybody else. And could we get more work? Yeah. But like my dad always says, when you go to sleep at night, you sleep with a clear conscience every night, knowing that you did the best of your God-given ability, right?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
So when you can do that, you can sleep peacefully. And I sleep very peacefully, by the way.
Yes, no, I love it because a lot of my friends, and like, I know they're joking, but they would send me memes about, I need a tax preparer or tax professional that they're not scared of being in jail. And I'm like, well, I have 3 kids and I love my bed.
Yeah, that's exactly right. No, you're absolutely right.
Yes, no.
So what else do we have coming up? I know we have somebody next week. What do you think that what type of people do you think we need to bring in? Because I have some people on the list, but what do you think our listeners really need?
Honestly, I would love to know about our listeners, what industries, right? Maybe like a content creator. I know social media is big right now, so we need to get somebody here that can teach us about what's trending, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, right?
Yeah.
What platforms are they moving? Do we need to put some money on ads? Or, you know, I feel like that's a big one for us too.
Yeah. Also too, podcasts, right? How important podcasts, you know, maybe we can bring a specialist that can talk about podcasts and why it's important, why that platform is important, and how it can actually, you know, reach a broader, you know, spectrum of people out there.
No, absolutely. No, and please, if you're listening to us, let us know who or what you guys want to listen to, and go from there.
Yeah, no, I think that's great.
Or if you want to be in the show too.
Actually, that's a very good point. If you have the courage to come to Fuego Founders podcast show because you have something that is burning inside of you, right? That you have that burning desire to talk and communicate. We want to see you here on the show. So make sure you message us, get us that information, and then we'll get you on the show. We'll do a little interview with you, bring you on the show, because that's what the show is about. Fuego Founders, it's about finding all the talent that's out there and then making sure they're on our platform here to reach out to all the people, all our listeners and beyond. Because guess what? This is not a one-time thing. You can listen to these shows over and over and over, and this digital footprint will be here long after we're gone.
That's right. And remember, don't let your past determine your future.
That's exactly right. Well, that's it today from the Fuego Founders podcast show. I'm Joe Ochoa Jr., known as El Gran Empresario, and
Yesenia, just the CEO, and we'll see you next time.